You know who else has turned a blind eye to people was the previous administration. And I understand we don't want to necessarily go back and relitigate. Politics is all about moving forward. I agree to a certain extent. I also think holding people accountable to their past mistakes, especially in the political realm. New report coming out from the Office of Personnel Management Inspector General found that 58% of employees under the Biden administration failed to meet minimum requirements for in-office work from home under Biden. Nearly one-third had lapsed telenetwork agreements and 21% discrepancies on their paperwork, and 15% did not have the approved agreements on file, according to the report. In other words, nobody that the Biden administration hired was actually doing any work when they were working from home. Now, I know several people that work from home, and I can attest to the fact that they don't get a lot of work done. Can you? And that's for-profit companies. I can't even imagine how little work I would do if I worked for the federal government from home. Bobby, your thoughts?
Well, I think that it plays actually perfectly into the previous story, which is like, if there was a private entity that was responsible for managing these people, they would understand that there would be a bleed in the money, and there would be a multitude of different people. Let's say it was publicly traded. They're like, why are you losing money in this sector? You need to dive in there and figure this out because we're losing money. The government has no accountability to anybody. It has no incentive basis. It has no profit incentive to do things efficiently or at a high quality. The only thing that mattered to the Biden administration were the jobs numbers. So it's like, if there's a shortage in the potential job creations of that month, you just inflate it with a bunch of people that do nothing. I listened to this podcast from economist Peter Schiff, who some people like and some people don't, but I happen to. And he's like, if the government wanted to create jobs, why doesn't it just create jobs for people to dig holes and people to fill them? It's like, just because there's a job doesn't mean that it's a good thing or that it's a productive job. And another thing that he argues is that by removing people from the productive market-based workforce, the free market workforce, and then putting them in a government job, you're taking what would have otherwise been a productive private sector employee, and you're making that person inefficiently accomplish a task that they're not really held accountable for doing. And isn't it funny that people that are working from home in the Biden administration aren't doing their job when Joe Biden was also working from home and not doing his job?
I thought that was coming. I was waiting for it. I'm glad you delivered. But the idea that anybody would be efficient if there's no oversight or accountability. Like I said, I hate this morally speaking, but I can't imagine I would do any better. I would try and slack off as much as possible if I had a government job, which I'm sure will get clipped up someday when I'm in the Charlie Kirk administration in 2060.